again. Um, I just there's two things been on my mind. One been on my mind and my heart for a couple weeks now, and the one thing that's just been like a financial legal thing that I got wound up in that I don't even I don't even know how it happened. I was not notified both last 2 years of rent increases, and I get a voucher, and my mental health association, I stay with them not just because sometimes I need some, but they're really good with networking for a lot of things, for like programs, for help. I mean, and so they I got the voucher through them, and they didn't give the voucher, but they worked and helped me, get one. Now, if there's any rent increases, first of all, when you're on a housing voucher, they cannot charge you for like late fees and stuff. Um, and they wait. First of all, why did you wait 2 years? The first year, I think it was like $13 more a month. But nobody told me. I didn't get it. You know how the mail is. I've told them that. That's why I don't mail my payment. I did it through this third party ClickPay, who charges me $36, $36 a month to process one freaking payment on time. And apparently it wasn't updated there. And that's the place that my apartment complex told me they work with. So if there's a rent increase, shouldn't it be relayed to them? And then when they take the first new payment out, they let you know in case you didn't get notified. And there was no notification. It's always supposed to be sent to what they call DCA. It's where the housing vouchers come from, because there's different ones, different organizations, and they're supposed to be notified if the rent, any people with the rent, when their vouchers, if their rent is raised, they're supposed to be notified too, because they pay like a certain percentage depending on how much income you have, and or you get. So they have to know to make a bigger payment, and once they know, they inform me as well. So the apartment should be informing me, and the DCA should be informing me, and they didn't get informed, the DCA. So how can that be legitimate? That's not how they work, but it's still being held. The way it works, I think the first year was, and the second year they never, it was raised like $20 more. So, and that's my part of it. It was raised more than that, but that's what my part of the voucher part. So, I mean, legitimately, I shouldn't. It came to like, and then, and then two payments at the end of last year, almost a year ago. October, November, I think they said, didn't even get paid. But when you have auto pay, and you pay a company to do that one payment every month, how do they just not do a payment for a month or two, and then they start it up again in December? How do you do that? How am I supposed to know? That's what auto payment is for, so you don't worry when or how much. It's paid. That's it. And if you don't get a notice saying your rent wasn't paid for 2 years, how the hell are you supposed to know? Especially with the knowing how the post office is with the joy in it. I have lost things that say EBT, Office of Temporary Assistance, which is like the economic security offices, or voting stuff, and EBT things. Anything like that in a return address, and they get half the time, if not more, they get lost. They don't. I went to my mailbox a couple weeks ago, and there was a whole stack, not interspersed, so it was being held somewhere, rerouted. Never went back to them, just held, and one of them was from May 8th. And that was in the middle of August when I got it. How does that happen? So between the mail failing and government offices, agencies, and programs and stuff only use snail mail. They don't use emails for notifications and things. And I've asked them all the time. You ask us for them. When we don't put them on, you ask us to put them on. And then you don't use them. Y'all know, ever since DeJoy got in there with Trump, that his plan is to destroy the postal system. And so he could say, see, we all know with the vote in mail doesn't work. He does a self-fulfilling prophecy. He prophesies, and then he makes sure the people do it, so it happens exactly like he said it would. Yeah, that's not insight. That's just being a dick. That's just playing, tomfoolery, grade school magic trick as a dick. So, yeah. So, I just got a call. One of the programs is covering all of it. They were up to 1.16. I'm like, are you fucking nuts? One of the payments they found, the other two, I don't know what the fuck. Shouldn't the company that's supposed to be making those payments, if they didn't notify me, shouldn't they be responsible? Why am I the one responsible when you neglected to notify me and you neglected to do it? But yet I'm the one that has to pay for it all. I mean, it's like 2 different weeks in court. So the final was like $1,045 because I have to pay court costs, which is obnoxious. I got legal aid helping me, but he got them down, and we had to go back the next week because we had to continue mediating because there was numbers neither side, neither attorney, theirs or mine, understood where the hell they were coming from. This is how jacked up this whole issue is, this whole situation. It's like jacked from beginning to end, and I'm totally sitting here going, what are you talking about? I pay $36 a month to have a place pay my rent and pay it on time. What are you talking about? I did take responsibilities. How was I not supposed to trust that? That's why I'm paying you to do it. So I don't have... And he was like, well, you should check every month. I thought that auto pay was so you didn't have to check unless you got something saying there was a problem. Why did they wait 2 years? The apartment, the company that owns the complex. Why did they wait 2 years for it to accumulate? That's what I want to know. So yeah. But like I said, I just got the call. It's Thursday. Sunday is the 3rd Spiritversary for my son. Between that, and I'm having a hard time this month. I'm having a real hard time this month. Or this year with it. It was hard last year, but this year I'm having a real hard time with it. And I don't tell a lot of people. My niece is getting married next September. Nobody has fucking time for this, okay? But to hear, I just got a call from my caseworker. And there's a place that's going to cover the entire amount. And they're writing the check today. For $1,043. So I don't have to struggle because we had payments set up on the 30th of the next 3 months, September, October, and November. $300, 300 and something dollars, as well as my rent on the first. Which I knew there was no way. Where am I can't pull $30 out of my ass after everything's paid. Where am I going to pull out 390, 300 and whatever? 380 something dollars. That and my rent is pretty much all of my SSI. Really, I only get $940 a month. Paying $227 for rent. I mean, you take 400 out extra. That's everything pretty much, except utilities. But anyway, I mean, just before I got on, I was getting on here to do a thing on Joanne Rowling, but I'll get to her. But I just doing this quick one to if you guys are ever in a problem, a legal issue, especially if it's something that you don't think is legit, fair, or you can't do, or whatever, or you don't understand. If you're low income, you can't afford an attorney, absolutely call legal aid. Call legal aid. This could have resulted in me being homeless, me not being here, if I didn't have MHA, which is Mental Health Association. Like I said, they network. It's not just, I've got my teletherapist who canceled yesterday. I really needed her, but she was sick. I sitting there waiting, and I got a call from the office, and they were saying she's here, but she's got to go. She was really got sick in the last thing. And what was I going to say? No, throw up while I talk to you because I need it this week? No. So, he said he was going to wait till Tuesday, till it was already paid. But then he thought he'd do it now because the office closes tomorrow, like at 2 or something. I was like, no, thank God. Thank you for telling me now, because that would have been on my head now, too. Now I don't have any, because they were like, you can't have any complaints or this. Even though I never did, it's like when you're being told that, you get all like paranoid and, So if you have anything and you can't afford an attorney, that's what legal aid is for. And I was originally given one attorney and told, that was weeks ago, told he'll call on this day at this time. And then a couple days later, she called and said it's a different attorney. And that guy that day was handling 6 cases at the court, all legal aid cases. But yeah. And they have a thing called family something, family promise, that help with like utility or rent back pay, things like that. Organizations that, how they will help sometimes pay a very high electric, like when people with the heat wave the last month, my bill went from 40, it's usually 40 at the absolute like tops, and it was 108 last month. But some people who have homes said they usually have 120 to 200, and they were like 500. That was because we had a heat wave for most of the month. It was 3 different heat waves. One of them was like, the first one was 10 days. The next one was like 6 or 7. The other one was like 5 or something, same thing. It's like almost the whole month was a heat wave. And a lot of people needed help with their utilities, or with their electric specifically, because of the air conditioners needed. It was bad. It was bad here because there's one in the living room in the window, the big one. But there's none in here, and a lot of people that have a second or third bedroom, I only have one, but a lot of people that have even definitely second and third, but even these, sometimes the air just doesn't come all the way through. But I got a little fan, as you see, that little black thing on that table back there. That's a little fan. It's always going. It definitely helps, and I can get through. But yeah, people's electric bills. Some people had to run 2 air conditioners. So if you ever need help, if you ever find yourself in a spot, call legal aid if it's a legal thing. If it's utility help, there's Family Promise. Just look it up online. Because it depends on the state. They have different names, but and sometimes the counties and stuff are different. But don't go it alone if you've got like something like that happening. Get legal aid. Once they have the interview, they'll have the interview and they'll ask you questions. If it's something that they feel like, yeah, there's definitely. I mean, if you're completely wrong and yeah, I didn't pay rent, I couldn't afford it, I didn't, there's not much they can do. Maybe work out an agreement that's fair, so you don't get duped. But they took my case when I explained to them. I don't even pay it myself. I pay somebody to pay it. How would I? Why would I? And why would they let it go for 2 years? I mean, there should be a law. If a company lets something go when they know it's happening and they don't do anything, and they let it, turning on this little light, sorry, and they let it go, for 2 years, there should be a cutoff. You can't do anything back, more than a year. That's only fair. We can't do certain things, within a certain time. It's only fair. Companies and organizations and, rental places have the same thing. You can't go back 5 years and say, oh, we didn't see this till now. And so you're going to pay all the interest too. Fuck that. No, I'm not. Because number one, y'all should have notified me. You should have notified the MHA and the voucher people. And two, ClickPay, what the F are they doing? Why the fuck did they just not pay and then start paying again? And I was not made aware of it. Because that's one of the reasons why I did it. Because I knew there was times when I was just with the grief. And I moved here 3 years ago. That's why. The only one I don't have auto pay is Optimum and the electric company, because I don't really trust them. I was having issues. Another company, got in and was a third party, and I was just like, what the fuck? And my bills literally tripled. It was like $200 or something when it's normally $35. So I don't trust them sometimes. I've caught them fucking up before and having to adjust something, and if you pay it, they take forever to credit it. And if you deduct that much from the next month's payment, they fuck with you on it. They want to pay you, and the Optimum does the same way. They'll say, "Oh, we can't credit for a billing cycle, which is 3 months." And then when that comes up, they say, "Yeah, no, we're only crediting this state, not that state." When all the states along the east were out, and you still had to pay for a week's service that you didn't get, and they're not cheap. It's like it's a lot of money for 1 month, for 1 week. I had cable at the time too. Now I just stream. But yeah, they charge you, and when their cable box, they'd give you a refurbished one, and 6 months later, when it was fucking up, they would charge you for a tech to go out there, and they'd replace it with a refurbished one. I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you charging me when it's your fucking equipment that's bad? You keep giving me old shit, and now you want to charge me. That's the kind of crap Optimum plays. And not only that, but Optimum is the older one. I'm always past due, because they charge you like other companies used to do. They charge you before you use the service. How do you know? Maybe I'll go blind next week. How can you charge me when when I'm not using the TV because I can't see it now? You know what I'm saying? It's just a stupid example, but it's just an example. When we had an outage, some people were out 14 days. I think it was me, was 12. They promised us. You remember that several years ago, the whole East Coast. It wasn't just Optimum, it was all the cable companies. When we had that 3 foot, 4 foot of snow. And all of us along the whole Eastern was supposed to be, oh, and we had that storm that hit down there, and it knocked, I mean, and they said everybody that was affected. And then 3 months later, when we all went to go say, why didn't you credit us those 14 days or those 12 days? Mine was 12. Some people had 14. And they said, no, 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 no. We only did it where the storm was. We only gave credit for where the storm was. And it's like, that's why I'm in an open suit against them. And I still have to use them here. Because that's the only one that's in this complex. So it's either that or nothing. So I had no choice. But I'm not using a cable box. I stream now. But if anybody needs that kind of help, because TV and stuff is not a luxury anymore. That's where you get your freaking news. Internet, TV one thing, but internet is you do your banking, everything. You have to be able to have internet, like during COVID with the teaching. So if you ever have problems, make sure you try to get help. A lot of them, you can't get help more than once every 6 months, some are a year. But I mean, don't let that scare you away if it's a difference between, I mean, the worst they can say is they don't have the funds. A lot of the programs, the fiscal funds are right around now. The end of summer, beginning of fall is the fiscal year. It's not like a regular calendar year. So funds for programs come in like around now through the fall. And you don't know when your company, when your organization is going to get its funds. I mean, just because you were one of the first 1,000 last year doesn't, you could be some of the last ones this year, and there was one place, I'm not going to say where I got it from, but there's one place. He just called and said they're covering it, the entire 1,043. I'm like, he texted. And I was like, what? And I texted back, what? And I immediately called. Yeah. And it was like, even my headache is going away. Because I took 800 milligrams about an hour ago. And it was still there. And I know part of it is the weather. I've actually got lights on. It's overcast, muggy, probably gonna rain again. I've still got a headache, but it's not that crushing. I've still got all the grief and all the hard with Sunday approaching. But that I'm trying to contain myself and get myself under control without crying again. I'm trying to talk through it so there's not a big empty space. Because you don't need to see me crying again. But with that off my shoulders, I've actually got an appetite back. I have not been I haven't been really eating much at all the last 2 or 3 weeks. I just haven't. I've been too stressed. My stomach's been in knots, worrying about this financial thing because I signed the resolution, but I know full well if I couldn't come up with that 300 whatever at the end of the month and the rent at the beginning again, that would null and void the entire thing. So I'm like, I've got a month to find a place that has funds right now. It's not that I would be eligible, it's just that they don't have funds. I'd be eligible for any of them. I haven't asked for help in like 5 years or more. A long time. I'm eligible with my, all that stuff. They just don't have their funds for the fiscal year, the new fiscal year. And to hear that it's all being done in one payment, huge relief, huge relief. So the whole purpose of telling you guys all this is that if you ever have problems, or you know somebody that's having problems and you can't help them, like they've got a really bad electric bill or they got behind in something and you can't help them out, Um, Let them know, because I thought everybody knew about stuff like that, but I guess only us low incomers know about a lot of these programs. So when you're thrown into it, you don't know, and you wind up sinking before you find out there was help that could have avoided that, and then you got to start all over again, which is time and frustration. So those programs are there, and while we still have them, don't abuse them. But for situations like I just told you, where I'm like, WTF? How did this happen? And why wasn't I being told about it? And why did it take 2 years? And blah blah, and why and why and why? The pact is somebody has to pay that money. They're going to hold somebody responsible. And it's not going to be their company, the rental company. They're never going to wind up having to do that. Just take the blame because they should have notified. Or if DCA does not approve the rent hike, if it's not acceptable, they can't legitimately expect it to be paid if they don't agree to it. Or if they have too many too high too often or something. They'd be like, excuse me, stop taking advantage just because the program is paying, 2/3 of it. So those programs, while they're still here, pray to God Harris and Walz get elected, they will remain. And sometimes they can make all the difference. Trust me. I'm living proof today of that. I still have that grief and that pain, that physical pain. It's I've had it for at least a week or so. It hurts like here. It hurts all the way to my back, between my shoulder blades, right opposite, right in the mid back. It hurts there, mid to upper back. It's been hurting there every time I get in this loop of my son. He didn't even get to celebrate his 16th birthday with his twin. And I really could have used my teletherapist yesterday. Really could have used her, but it's not her fault she gets sick. It's not like she planned it. So, anyway, anybody who's lost a child or really dealing with a legal financial issue that they were clueless on or anything like that, just be kind to them. I'm not saying you have to kiss their ass, but be patient if they're a bit of a jerk and they're not normally, or they're snappy, or they don't respond when you say you're upset or something, like you feel they should or like they usually do. Because some of us, our hearts are literally shattering as we're smiling and talking. And it's not an easy trick to pull off. To keep talking when you can't breathe. It feels like you can't breathe. And to smile when their tears are like a waterfall. Just be kind to them. Give them a little understanding. Because when you've lost a child, Triggers are everywhere. Triggers for joy, like a sign, which can also send you to tears because it reminds you that you can't hug them physically anymore. Triggers are everywhere, every day. Everything, there's a trigger. But you never know when that particular trigger will get triggered. Sometimes it doesn't. And then sometimes it turns into an hour of sobbing. And you just never know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates. Isn't it, Forrest? Isn't it, Mr. Cup? Yeah. So, it's hard to hear those kids out there laughing, playing. A lot of times it makes me smile, but I wonder how many of them won't make it to adulthood. And that makes me sad. So even when somebody you know is perfectly fine, they could see or hear or smell something, and 2 seconds later, they are not perfectly fine at all. At all. And then they're stuck in public sometimes when that happens. And you just have to pray you don't snap at somebody because of how you're feeling right now. It's not as easy as it sounds. When all you want is your child, and somebody's trying to talk to you, and all you want is your child back. It's all you want is your child back on Earth. Just to know they're on Earth. Even if you don't see them all the time. Just knowing they're there, that's all you want. That's all you asked out of life. Long, long, long time ago. I said, universe, God, I don't care what you do to me with health, with finances, emotionally, financially, physically, which, by the way, all three have been hit and tested. I said, just leave my kids alone. Leave them alone. Do whatever you want to me, but leave them alone. Don't fuck up their lives. And all three of them got their lives fucked up. Exactly like I asked not to. What does somebody do with that? What does a mom who fiercely loves her cubs do with that? 3 of them. I'll never be a grandmom either. I already know that. One most likely to have gotten married and had kids was probably him. I'm sorry. Just please be kind to others. You don't know what they're dealing with that day. And if they are just a big ass normally, that's their issue. That doesn't mean you need to be a jerk. You just really don't know what somebody's dealing with. It's kind of like people that get transplants. It's joy that either they or their loved one will have a shot to live again. to get that chance, somebody had to lose one of their loved ones. How can you be completely ecstatic that you got your new heart or your kidney or your lung, completely happy when you know somebody had to die and give that to you for you to get it? It's the same feeling, I think. I love hearing kids play and laugh. It just breaks my heart. Because it reminds me. And the remaining twin has the same rare, fatal, no cure condition. So he's already decided he's not going to get married or have kids and foist this on somebody he loves. Most people with Brugada, they'll make it maybe to their early 40s, if that. So he's on the spectrum, kind of like think Sheldon Cooper or Spock, bright, intelligent, just the emotion things he just doesn't get. He doesn't get it easily. And hang on.